Good afternoon. It's interesting that I didn't hear the full testimony before arriving. I was in another hearing, but it seems that the Keene Robin Hooding parking enforcement situation was brought up. I was one of the people sued by the city of Keene in that particular case, and the claims were absolutely ridiculous that the parking enforcers were being threatened or harassed or intimidated. We spent 3 days of full court hearings in Superior Court where the city of Keene had the opportunity to present, via their very high-paid private attorneys, all the evidence they could possibly show, which included, they could have taken any of the video footage that we had recorded, which included hours and hours, dozens and dozens of hours of video footage of the parking enforcers being followed around, or rather them following us because we walked in front of them to feed the meters. But they didn't show anything compelling, any sort of harassment or intimidation or whatever. So that is ridiculous. Following employees to the bathroom, it's certainly true from what I understand that some of the Robin Hooders had followed the employees into the city building, but they certainly didn't follow them into the bathroom. It's within my full rights to enter into the city building anytime during business hours, and anything that would restrict that is pretty outrageous. So to go back to something that Mr. Ian said a moment ago, I agree this bill doesn't go far enough. The idea that it's illegal to record a conversation with a government worker is outrageous. There are so many places in this country where it's fully legal. Not only government workers, but private company workers as well, as was pointed out. If I wanted to do an investigative report, where I come from, the news media does these undercover reports, like, Channel 8 on your side. They'd go into an unscrupulous car dealer and they'd, have hidden cameras and they'd ask them to repair something, and then they'd find out, well, what really needed to be repaired on this car. Did this car dealer tell us? Were they honest about what needed to be repaired? They can find these things out by doing these undercover hidden camera operations that are completely illegal in New Hampshire. So the people of New Hampshire would be better off if we could do this level of investigative work, and that includes investigative reporting on government employees. I have to wonder why it is that the government employees don't support this sort of level of transparency. It seems to me that they have something to hide, and it shouldn't be that way. They should be transparent. Every conversation they have should be subject to being recorded. If I have to hold a camera out physically, or a recording device out physically, this isn't recording right now, but if I did have to hold that out to show some sort of indicator, as I believe this bill suggests, that I'm recording, that will change the behavior of the person that I'm recording. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, depending on their attitude and how they felt that day. But if I want to get a picture, if I want to give a picture to you or to any of my viewers online or on television or on radio of what it's really like to interact with, say, a Department of Motor Vehicles worker or a city police officer or whomever, then I should be able to conceal my recording device, because then they'll treat me as though I'm everyone else, and they will behave differently if I'm holding a video camera out. They may be on their best behavior if I hold the video camera out, but if the video camera is not out and it's concealed, then they may be very rude, they may be downright dismissive, they may ignore me completely. I've seen these behaviors on the part of the government workers in this state, and it's illegal for me to show it to you because it's illegal to record those things. So again, I think they absolutely have something to hide, because these government workers know that in a lot of cases they are very, very rude to members of the public, and they know they can be rude because there's no way to hold them accountable for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for this gentleman? Representative Gagnon.
Thank you for taking my question. What about, like, a town clerk having a conversation with the client, coming to get putting in the request for whatever, right, that has to do with town, a license for something or other. Should that be recorded? Should that not be a private conversation between the town clerk and that client?
If those two individuals are interested in privacy, then they should go to a private place. If they're in a public place where I could be standing in line behind them, personally I'm not interested in recording that because that doesn't sound very compelling. But if I'm in their purview, if I can overhear their conversation, I can remember what they've said. So I should be able to record what they've said. So it should be on the conversation's participants to take whatever effort is necessary. Oh, I want to talk to you about something sensitive. Oh, well, this gentleman's over here. I don't know who he is. Can we go off into that room over there and have a private conversation? Leave it to the individuals in the conversation to make the effort necessary to keep something private if they think it's important.
Representative Cushing.
If if a woman is raped in public and she's being attended to by a police officer, do you think you have a right to videotape that recording?
I think that anything that happens in public is subject to being recorded, absolutely. I mean, have you seen cops? You know, they've got the camera people that follow the police around. It's a relatively common thing to happen. And I'm also a member of a group that holds police accountable for their actions as well. So while the young lady or whoever may want privacy, she can request that. She could say, I don't feel comfortable with all these people around. Can we go talk in your squad car or your cruiser or something like that? If it's happening in the public, it should be subject to being recorded, whether overtly or covertly, and in which case it may actually help protect the young lady because the police officer may not be in a good mood that particular night, and who knows what they might. He may end up harassing her for something. I've seen them do all kinds. I've seen the police pick on young ladies constantly in Keene, New Hampshire. They're always harassing them for underage drinking and things. I've seen them make the young ladies cry, and I think it's very important to have the video cameras out to show them doing this.
You don't think they should be told that they shouldn't be drinking underage?
Oh, I don't think it's anyone's business what you put in your body. You know, I think that you own yourself.
Thank you. Any other questions? Representative Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In defense of my fantastically wonderful city, you seem to emphasize the fact that people in government, policemen, etc., shouldn't be rude. And I would wonder if it might be you being one of the leaders of the Robin Hoods to remind them that rudeness may be not illegal, but it's bad behavior and shouldn't be done. And having watched your people on Channel 8, I saw them being very rude to employees who were doing what they were hired to do. And I think it would be nice if you reminded your associates that these are people who are doing what they were hired to do and treat them unrudely.
Well, just since I realize this has nothing to do with the bill, but since Representative Robertson brought it up, I'd like to point out
You
that
brought up rudely.
I've never seen, you brought up the issue of allegations of what you've seen on television. I've never seen any Robin Hooder behave in a rude manner towards the employees. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't someone who could go out on the streets and be rude to them and then claim to be associated with me. I can't say whether or not everybody is behaving, and not only that, I'm not in charge. I'm one of the least active Robin Hooders. I'm busy usually running my business every single day. But if you did find some rude footage, I'd like for you to show it to me so I can take a look and see if I know who that person is. And if I do know who that person is, I would be happy to have a talk with them, because I don't think that being rude is appropriate. Although that said, freedom of speech and all, if someone wants to be rude to a government employee, they should have the freedom to do that. It's not my approach. That's not how I think things should be done. But that's freedom of speech.
Just out of curiosity, could you tell me what a Robin Hooder is? We haven't been fortunate enough to have you in Portsmouth yet.
Yes, I'd be happy to explain.
Over.
I'd just like to know what they are.
Sure, thank you for asking. I presumed it might have been covered earlier. So the Robin Hooders, I'm one of them. Mr. Ian is another one of them. We are a group of people in Keene who, on a regular basis, go out, find the parking enforcement agents in town, and deposit change in expired meters before the agent can reach the meter to issue a ticket. So essentially our job is to save people from getting parking tickets. And we've managed to do that to the tune of at least 8,000 people in the year 2013, preventing them from getting ticketing, from receiving tickets, and keeping money in the hands of the people instead of in the hands of the city.
Thank you. Representative Brady.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to back up just a little bit, and it may not have been something that you specifically said, but because you're dealing with us in terms of the Robin Hooding, I would like to know specifically the intent of you taping the meter people. And what is it that you intend to use that tape for, or what is the purpose?
Good question. So in the case of Robin Hooding, we've discovered that the parking enforcement agents, as is the case with some government employees, have a tendency they'll lie. They'll make things up, and they'll make things up to make themselves look good and make us look bad. So the idea behind having video recording is to create an objective record of what actually happened. You know, if there's a video camera running and one of the parking enforcement agents says, "Ian Freeman pushed me," well, we've got video of the entire afternoon, and it's pretty clear that I didn't push you. So it's an objective record.
May I have-
Follow up, will you speak up, please?
Yes,
Thank you.
I thought that I had heard that one of the intents, or one of the, your hopes was to have the meter folks resign, quit their job, or something of that type. Now, I'm gonna apologize if that was not you,
So
but this is what I'm hearing.
the main purpose of Robin Hooding is to save people from getting parking tickets. That's the number one thing, because when you come out of a business, you've gone downtown to go and get some lunch or go get your hair cut or something, and you got that ticket on the windshield. It's a terrible feeling. And if we can save people from feeling that, make their day by, instead of finding a ticket, they find a nice little note that says they've been saved from getting a ticket. We find that people really appreciate that. They send in donations, they'll give you hugs, they'll say thank you, and they're very, very appreciative of it. One of my goals is to end the parking enforcement department, absolutely. I don't think it's necessary. I think businesses should be able to determine their own parking policies for the spaces that are adjacent to their business. So there is a larger political agenda, but not each person has that same agenda. Garrett may have a different viewpoint on how things should go from a parking perspective. So it's not like a collective thing where everybody has the same viewpoint, but I don't think that the city should be involved in parking. For instance, Newport has no parking enforcement. There's no parking meters in Newport, and they're fine there. And as a matter of fact, when you run the numbers in the city of Keene at any given point in the day, there's usually, I think the average is like 60% open spaces. So there's plenty of spaces. And the fact that the parking enforcers are out there enforcing when there are open spaces shows that it's really all about revenue and not so much about creating turnover in the parking. But to answer one of the other questions I realized I didn't answer, what about the video, what's done with it? I know that Garrett uploads all of his video raw, so no editing. He'll take everything that he records in a given day and upload it onto YouTube. So anyone can access it, anyone can look at it, anyone can download it. So that's true transparency.
Representative Allen.
I was going to ask Attorney General Rice or Mr. Dilks about this, but they didn't seem to be able to talk about the Hamel case, so I'm sure they wouldn't want to talk about this one. But rather than talk about Robin Hooding or some of these minor things, have you seen on Channel 9 this footage from a criminal, somebody that was arrested for being drunk, who was thrown against the wall?
Oh yes, I've seen that.
Don't you think it's kind of important that we get that kind of information out to the public?
Very important, yes. In that case, that happened to be the state's own camera that caught that, so I support, the more cameras the better as far as I'm concerned, and I know there's going to be a bill coming up, I believe later, about the police, yeah, having cameras. I support that too, even though it's their cameras. I think if we have our cameras and they have their cameras, everybody will be more honest and will know what actually happened in any given circumstance. I think it's very, very important.
But if we didn't have that, we'd never known about this, would we?
That's correct. And no one would have believed him either, because everybody always believes the police. Whatever the police say, they're trusted because they're the police and they wouldn't be dishonest. But it turns out a lot of police are dishonest. We just can't prove it because we're not allowed to record them. If I record a police officer being dishonest, they can charge me with a felony if I do that in a hidden way. A friend of mine named Ademo Freeman from coplock.org was arrested and jailed here in Manchester jail, which is a horrible jail to be in. I mean, it's horrible to be in jail at all, but this is one of the worst. He was jailed for 90 days on felony wiretapping charges because he called up a government employee and recorded a phone conversation with a government school employee, the principal of the Manchester High School. Now, I think every conversation should be on the record, and I don't think that I should have an obligation to inform someone that they're being recorded. That's what I have to do today, and that means that I can't have a conversation that would have been the real conversation, what would have actually have occurred had I not said that I was recording. He was sent to jail for that, and I'm sorry, I think jail's for real criminals who actually hurt people. Just because the government workers had their feelings hurt doesn't mean that that should be illegal.
you don't think that you wouldn't resent it if I called you up and recorded what you had to say to me?
Well, no, not at all. I host a radio show for a living, and
No, I'm not
used to that.
talking about radio, personal conversation between you and I.
If I'm on my best behavior at all time, it shouldn't be a problem. If I'm being rude, then yeah, you should be able to record what I say. So I think that that if people know they could be recorded, maybe they'll be behaving a little bit nicer towards one another.
Well, if you like you, you're gonna do a lot to try to change people in this world anyway.
Well, I
That's
don't
a
care.
different personality.
That's true, but let them be shown by being able to record their personalities, to show the world what they're really like.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Darrell?